We finally have some cool weather here. It's been so hot. Oh gosh, the last couple of days have been full of ups and downs. Yeah, a few of the people that I have met on Substack here, some of the very serious writers, people are going through stuff right now. And from my context, there's a wave of change moving through the world. There's always waves of change moving through the world. But this particular ripple, this particular field that we're entering, is one where we're confronted in a sort of it's non-verbal, this feeling of heaviness, and it's showing up as depression and a kind of spiritual exhaustion. And the spiritual exhaustion shows up for people who are trying to be change makers in the world right now and take their work very, very seriously. And everyone in the world is so profoundly distracted and so profoundly numbed that we're unable to take people's work seriously. Anyway, I'll just stick around and see if anybody comes today. And if nobody comes, I shall wrap up and sod off. Ah, yes. Sometimes this happens. I don't know what it is with Substack. I'll schedule a live and no one will come. Zoe. Hello, Zoe. Zoe, tell me something. How do you see or notice when I'm doing a live? How does the machine notify you? Because it seems like the more effort I put in to do what is supposed to happen, the fewer folks show up. And then sometimes a video like this will be just such a dud. I'll switch off and I'll start again, and suddenly, people start rolling in. So it's hard to actually trust the system, the platform. Yeah. Anyhow. Yeah, I'm talking about this this energy state we're in this conundrum of the wayfinder and the torchbearer. And I'm speaking archetypally. I'm noticing there's people that I collaborate with, or I'm trying to collaborate with more and more, and just getting to know them. And it's people that I've met through Substack. It's just such beautiful people with such beautiful projects and such incredibly beautiful intentionalities. And, what I'm hearing, and I felt a bit of that, quite a heavy dose of that myself yesterday, was, let's call it depression. And I wrote something yesterday. Let's see if I can find it. I said, oh gosh, this always happens. It's which is part of this thing's problem. I can never find what I'm looking for. Things that I just said yesterday, they'll just sort of disappear into the... Depressed is the word that we use to describe someone who is actually aware of how insane our present moment is and how much is at stake. That's what depressed means. And people are feeling depressed, and the people that are feeling the most depressed, I often say that Jiddu Krishnamurti quote, which says, it's no sign of good health. It can be no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society or a profoundly sick environment, or equally a profoundly sick moment. And, we're staring down the barrel of war. We have the most incompetent, bumbling leaders leading us into such wars. We're being led into such conflict for the most petulant and immature of reasons. And it's just such an absence of leadership. And in that vacuum of leadership, human beings are trying to step up. Human beings are being called, almost. It's like there's a theory that I live with, and I can't prove it to be true, but you try it on for size. It's that we all came here on some level out of a dharmic or a karmic choice. Like we all chose to be here at this difficult moment, as hard as that seems. And we chose to be here in this version of the story because we have some gift that can live through us, some medicine to bring into the world, some light to shine, so that we can change the current moment. But the hard thing in the context of the story, the way I tell it, is that that gift inside of us only gets activated through agony, through enormous discomfort, through heartbreak. Yeah. And, growing up as a young person, I carried the heart and the soul and the mind and the promise of it. As David White says, I carried the heart and the mind of the promise of it for so long. And I'm apprenticed to the work of David White. And I'm sorry, I'm not making eye contact with the camera a lot, and it's because of the neurodivergent state that I'm in at the moment. But he explains, Jacob, I believe that also, Rocco, I believe we are here willingly at the level of soul. Yeah. But the thing is, that thing that draws the deepest part of our gift and our leadership and our courage out is through some kind of suffering. That doesn't mean we have to suffer. We're not inviting like this martyrdom. It's not what I'm saying. I'm suggesting that capacity inside of us. As a dad, I don't realize, as a father, I don't realize the depth and the capacity of my devotion until I see my child struggling, until I try and reach inside myself for more than I have. And it's that which activates this desire in me to claw my way out of my own limits so that I can be more and carry more. And I can't be the only one feeling that. I wrote something yesterday. It said agony is a symptom of devotion. Now, I want to tell you that our meaning of the word agony isn't what was intended. I'm going to just look up what the archetypal meaning of agonia was. Agonia, it's a Greek word, is an archetypal or symbolic context, and it refers to the profound existential struggle that precedes transformation. So we can say that the process of birth for both the mother and the child is a form of sacred agonia. Agonia is an archetypal or symbolic context, and it refers to the profound existential struggle that precedes profound transformation, sacrifice, or a major life shift. Yeah, it originates from the Greek agon, contest or struggle, and in Latin terms, it related to sacrifice, hostia. It's also called the sweat of decision, And in an archetypal context, it's the ordeal that's described in the sequence of the New Testament where Jesus goes into the Garden of Gethsemane and he knows that trial of agonia is ahead of him. So what I'm implying here is that we actually are called through these trials of agonia. That is how the deepest wellspring of our courage and our love and our it gives wings to our soul, whereby we give ourselves self-permission to transcend the narrative and the story and all the stories that have told us what we're capable of, what is possible. And we just throw that aside in a fucking nanosecond, especially when it's your child, right? Now, this dream and this promise that I have for a beautiful world and a beautiful life, it's not small, it's an enormous dream. And I want my child to live in a loving world that's full of promise and hope. I want her to live in a reality where everybody is free to pursue their own profound forms of actualization, to pursue their own forms of genius in the world. That's what moves me. But the problem is so big that it's through that agonia, there's been a waking up that happened in me as well to realize that it's not my job to carry all of that. It's our job to carry all of that. And so it's helping me make a sense of the difficulty and the agony and the struggle. I'm not trying to minimize the suffering that is happening in the world at the moment. Humans have caused that suffering in our ignorance, in our severance from place, in our severance from ancestor, in our severance from whatever a soul is. It's the loss of that that's caused this terrible circumstance. And in watching that, souls get activated because there's something that doesn't sit right with us, and we're all trying to be part of the solution. We're all trying to be part of the solution, but we don't know how. And one of my messages that I believe I'm here to share, well or badly, and I'm not doing it very well at the moment. I mean, when I speak, I think I'm saying what I mean to say, but it doesn't travel on the internet. It's not what Substack wants to hear. And when I say Substack, I mean both the listeners, the readers, the audience, as well as the other writers and voices here, as well as the platform. You see, we don't understand that Substack is what we make of it. The devs and the algorithm and the tech overlords that are creating the platform do one part of it. But all of the content is created by us. And what will emerge is what we allow, what we prize, what we celebrate, what we honor, what we click like on, the level of our engagement, the level of our commenting and our sharing and our making a fuss about things that we deem important, our just clicking the like button. People have to ask us to get involved or to get engaged. And yet, what caters to the lowest common denominator is the lowest brow conversation, the smallest dreams, the easy to reach things. Don't make a noise. Don't say unpretty things. Don't break our peace with your hard truths. Yeah. And so everybody who's carrying some kind of hard truths, carrying some kind of sacred medicine or some sacred gift that's trying to live through them, they're trying to, through this form of agonia, alchemize that and work harder and harder and harder and transform themselves and refine their crafts so that they can present their work in an ever more beautiful way. And what bothers me greatly is this belief that we've normalized that in order to share such beautiful, necessary gifts right now, we have to play the social media game. There's this formula that I keep hearing about on Substack, which is if anyone comments on anything, you've got to direct message them. Here's a canned text for the direct message you need to send them. I can't tell if that's wise or prudent or if it's fucking disingenuous, right? It feels disingenuous to me, but who's the fool? I'm the fool. I'm the fool because I'm carrying all this weight on my heart, trying to share all this beautiful medicine into the world, this sanity. And I can't do it because I'm not playing the game. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing this is how the game is played. There's a quote by a guy called John Riddle. He said, what is meant for you will never require you to abandon yourself. What is meant for you will never require you to abandon yourself. Jacob agrees with me. He said, it seems disingenuous, inauthentic. I wouldn't let those games bother you. But they do bother me, Jacob. And if you're serious about getting your work out into the world, they're going to bother you. Anybody who is, the harder and harder you are called to put your work out into the world, the harder you are called to test and push your limits, sometimes even the limits of your own dignity, sometimes even the limits of your own integrity. It's a difficult line to walk, right? There is a story that I tell about how people used to be in ancient times. I say something like this. In the middle of some desperate argument where the men are beating their chests and arguing about status and who should be most important, they're all fighting about their integrity and their dignity. And the women walk in and say, I don't care, chieftains or warriors, what this argument is about. The wolves are coming. Winter is coming. The enemy is at the gate now. Famine is here now. Trouble is here now. And the children need to be fed. The tribe needs to survive. The people need to survive. So you all need to put your shit aside and you need to swallow your pride and your integrity and your dignity to a point, because we need to do what is necessary. And it's that mother wisdom, that woman wisdom that we are missing from the world, the wisdom of maturity, the wisdom of what is most necessary. And I don't know what is most necessary. And all I have is my heart and my sanity to guide me. And up until now, I have profoundly failed to push my work out meaningfully into the world. Right now, I'm speaking into the void fundamentally. Gosh, I appreciate the folks who are here so much. Robert is here. Robert joined us. And Jennifer Raven has joined us. And I'm not bitching. This is not a complaint. This is not a cry for help. This is an echo. I almost feel like I'm the voice of every single person who is living with this profound sense of calling that is fucking aching in our hearts. And the more we love our children, and the more we wish for a brighter future, and the more dark things get outside, and the more ignorant the human race around us behave towards climate change, towards war, towards equality, towards protecting children, the list just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. What is meant for you will never require you to abandon yourself, says John Riddle. Too much, this is my words now, too much of what is called normal or smart, even in social media or business for that matter, is antithetical to integrity. It's antithetical to authenticity, and it's antithetical to the dignity of the human soul. I hear the words. This is what they say. You just have to play the game. That's just how business works. You can't fight the system. And it sounds like truth and it sounds like wisdom, except for the following reason. The system works the way it does because enough people keep subscribing to it and accepting it. And the same goes for academia, the same goes for politics, and the same goes for everything else, the dating scene for young people. The same goes for everything else that is broken in the world right now. There is always an implicit cowardice or an apathy present when an unhealthy reality goes unchanged. I'll say that again. There is always an implicit cowardice. There is always an implicit cowardice or an apathy present when an unhealthy reality goes unchallenged. I don't know who it was that said, it's not enough, you don't have to say that evil is when bad people do bad things. It's just as bad when good people refuse to do something. Every now and again, you will be tempted to do what it takes to become viable, and that means the system is broken. And like I said, Judah Krishnamurti, that quote of his, it can be no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick norm. And again, this isn't a cry for help or a lament. I'm not just bleating or complaining. This is what sanity sounds like. This is what leadership sounds like to me. This is what love sounds like to me. And what it's dawning on me is so many of us are carrying that light alone. And we're trying to find camaraderie here on Substack, but we can barely reach each other. Our work is not favored by the platform. It's not. And our work is not favored by the common denominator on the platform. And some of the most celebrated voices right now are the ones who play the game. Now, not all of them are disingenuous arseholes. There's some beautiful people, and they're encouraging me to play the game. And I'm finding a way that they are playing it that is not so disingenuous. They're trying to straddle that line. And it's a line we're all looking for, and we're trying to find that line without losing ourselves. I'll read some comments. Jacob says, your passion is apparent and appreciated. Thank you. I wish it was appreciated more. I wish my work was noticed more. I want my work to be seen. I really want my work to be seen because of what my work means in the world and the medicine that it means. It's like having some sort of medicine for a desperate sickness. And you don't just want attention for the sake of it. You want attention or reach so that you can distribute the medicine. And all you can see around you is suffering and illness. You just long harder to share your medicine in the world. Jennifer says, we depend on some of these for survival, some of which the systems. You'll tell me what you mean, Jennifer. I agree with you. And sometimes Jennifer says, we don't know which systems are broken. I think they are all broken, but we are in the system. Yes, Jennifer makes a really good point, and she says, I'm with you, Rocco. Jennifer points out that there's this catch cry in the world to just tear everything down, to go into a state of pure anarchy. Anarchy means two things. We have to face the fact that it means two things. The one thing that it means in the colloquial general use of the term is just a lawless state where there is no visible leadership. That's what anarchy means. It means anything goes, right? And given the state, the mental state of maturity and the psychological and emotional and spiritual maturity of your neighbors, I often say the internet is a cuttingly accurate mirror of our collective conscious. If you ever wanted to know what the collective conscious was, look into the mirror of the internet. It's a shocking place. It's a shocking place. And that just tells you who humanity is. That tells us who we are. The problem is we're letting algorithms and the lowest common denominator and the most radical voices, the sociopaths, we're letting sociopathic systems and speakers tell us who we are. We're letting such things tell us who we are. And we're all trying to figure out who we are. Yeah. But the other version of anarchy is just a way of operating in the world in a collective, coherent way, which does not require hierarchical leadership. And hierarchical leadership is not leadership, it's rulership. Right. And so the true meaning of anarchia is a state of cooperation that doesn't require hierarchical rulership. The problem is, to arrive at that state, you need to be collaborating with people who are mutually initiated into a sense of mutual responsibility. We don't have the institute of initiation anymore. It's not normalized. We don't have elders. They're not activated. And this trouble that we're going through now is activating our elders, and it's activating our pioneers, and it's activating our wayfinders. Archetypally, what is a wayfinder? It's activating our healers and our philosophers, right? But what we haven't hit the activation of yet is how badly we need to pull together in common cause, find a common language to talk, because everybody is developing their own thesis and their own theory, or some people are still banging on old drums. Some people are trying to revive Christianity now. Okay, the spirit of Christianity is a beautiful story, but they are trying to revive it in a literal sense. It's to make somebody else, a fictitious character, possibly, we don't know, our savior, our redeemer. And if human beings can't learn to redeem ourselves, we are in serious trouble. What are we going to do? Every time we hit trouble, are we going to wait for a redeemer? Is Jesus going to come back a third time? Because we need to learn to wipe our own ass now, right? And so we're hanging this whole project on the hook of AI. AI is going to save us and tell us all these fantastic answers. Not the way it's currently built, it's not. It's built in an entropic way. Entropic, right? For AI to perform better, it needs more stuff, right? Human consciousness doesn't work like that. Human intelligence works where you have less noise. Stillness is the place wherein the best thinking and the hard thinking happens. That's the purest form of our guidance and wisdom and intelligence. Machines don't work like that. And the way that we're building artificial intelligence is inherently entropic. It always needs more stuff, which means to scale that, you need to trash your environment. It's insane, right? So right now, I'm just really reading you through some of the notes that I've been sharing recently. What do we say here? Jacob says, "I am anarchist. I'm an anarchist. I'm hoping of the latter kind that we were talking about." Jacob says, "We may be undergoing a civilization-wide initiation in the form of crisis and collapse." That is not maybe. We are. We are. Our test will be crisis. And I worry so much that we're equal to that. And it's that worrying that I'm sharing with so many other voices on Substack that is activating us to be better leaders right now. And leadership, in my brain, if it's not shared, it's not real leadership. All right. We don't need one person out front with all the ideas. We need a mutual commitment to better ideas. And that means some of our ideas need to lose that shootout, right? I have been for a while now trying to pull people together in this project called A Better Way. If you're interested, go to abetterwaynow.substack.com and just subscribe. It's a slow burner. It's going as slow as quick as I can take it, and however much collaboration and earnest investment shows up. What I aim to do there is a number of things. One of the least of it is creating a speaker platform where some of these bright lights that are coming through at least have a place to share some of their work into a container of well-wishers that wants to receive their work and will boost it and will appreciate it and can appreciate it with more discernment. And this kind of ecocentric mutual alignment that we've been talking about. And maybe you've got a keynote that you can do, and there's a keynote submission form in there. So it won't look the way that you expect it to look. I'm not a professional outfit. I don't have $100,000 production budget. I'm just a guy. Okay. But I know what love looks like. And what love looks like is leadership and visible leadership. And I cannot be visible enough. But you know what will be visible enough is multiple people pulling together in concert. So find a way, do your part, I'll keep reading some other notes. Unless there's questions here. Yeah, it's a heavy one, man. And I started this talking about why some of the colleagues that I'm meeting here on Substacks, they're beautiful souls, but they're carrying the weight of that agony, right? And so in one sense, it's real depression, because depression is the response. I said before, depressed is the word we use to describe someone who is actually just aware of how insane our present moment is and how much is at stake. How can you look at all of that and not be depressed by it? There's an idea, and I forget who said it, that people don't need to hate the world to watch it collapse. They just need to be entertained by it. And so what social media and streaming services have done for us is they've compartmentalized us into these isolated feeds. Just think about how things used to work a decade, 2 decades ago, when I was a young man. We used to watch the same television shows. We used to listen to the same radio. We used to have the same movies that came out on release. And that means that we had this mythic narrative context to shape our understanding of the world. That was the power of cultural art. We had a shared story. And every day at the playground, kids would be talking about the cliffhanger in Knight Rider or the A-Team or whatever it is we were watching together. And we had some shared context for all of that. And as the world globalized, we started getting the same movies at the same time. And the pop charts would tell us who we were by the music we were listening to. And it might have been comparatively shallow to some of the stuff that I watch and I listen to now, but you know what it gave us? It gave us this way that at the water cooler, adults would get together in their work context and they would be discussing this. And whatever we were experiencing in the world, we were alchemizing and metabolizing and digesting together. And that gave us a common frame. But then social media and streaming services came along, and how wonderful is that? I don't have to watch adverts. I can watch whatever I like, whenever I like. But I also got put into this little private matrix, this feed where I only see one slice, one view of the world, one tinted, slanted window that I have helped shape in my gullibility, and the sociopaths that design social media, that hire the most expert psychologists that know how humans think and use all my data and all my behavior and train it against me and weaponize what they know about me against me to make me buy shit and to make me be engaged more deeply in a platform. And just think about how YouTube behaves. These black holes and these rabbit holes that you can get drawn into. So now we're all watching our own shows. We're all watching our own movies. We're all listening to our own music. We're all listening to our own podcasts. We don't even understand the world the same anymore. And therefore, we're not living in the same world. We're all in fractured worlds. And there's something in the world that wants us fractured in that way. There's something in the world that wants us fractured that way. There's something in the world that wants to tell us through that fracturedness who we are. Jennifer says, correct, Rocker. I don't know about which part, but I'll take it, Jennifer. It is indeed, Jacob says, very weird to me that the decay of our own culture and civilization is being mirrored back to us as entertainment content. Yes, that was the point that I was saying. So this idea, and I forget who said it, was that you don't have to love the collapse. You just have to be entertained by it. So we are watching some part of our brain, right, has been trained to be able to watch calamity and catastrophe unfolding and see it in some way as like a bad Netflix series. That even though It's horrifying. We're kind of eating the popcorn, watching it, and when it becomes too overwhelming for us, we just switch it off and we go and like I walk in the woods, right? In some sense, you have to walk in the woods. Yeah, it's like the Hunger Games. In some sense, you have to go and reset your sanity. But in some other sense, there's this dissonance that's happening. And we know that there's ridiculous, unacceptable things happening, and we're all just kind of going along with it. Read this thing from Wendell Berry. Let me see if I can share my screen, and you can horrify over this with me. This is by the famous Wendell Berry. It's questionnaire. It says, how much poison are you willing to eat for the success of the free market and the global trade? Please name your preferred options or your preferred poisons. Because our food is poison right now, and when we're still eating it and no one's complaining enough, we just gave up that argument, right? Number two, we became too overwhelmed to hold that argument. Number two, for the sake of goodness, how much evil are you willing to do? Because, everyone makes it's the lesser evil, Lesser evil is still an evil. Please fill in the following blanks with the names of your favorite evils and your acts of hatred. Read with me, everyone. Read with me. Number three, what sacrifices are you prepared to make for culture and civilization? Please list the monuments, the shrines, and the works of art you would most willingly destroy for that. Let's go on to number four. In the name of patriotism and the flag, how much of our beloved land are you willing to desecrate? Please list the following spaces: the mountains, the rivers, the towns, the farms that you would most readily do without. And number five, this is the hardest one to read. State briefly the ideals, or hopes and energy sources and the kinds of security for which you would kill a child. Name, please, the children who you would be most willing to kill. You need to understand who Wendell Berry was to not be confused by that. It's satirical, and it's dark satire, and it's beautiful satire, because it's trying to point out to us how profoundly disturbed we are as a society, as a collective self, that we're prepared to accept so much self-harm and so much self-predation and so much maleficial norms and choices. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. Yeah, man, that blows me up. And what is the theme of what I'm talking about today? If I reflect back, I'm talking about how I'm noticing that people are struggling with a kind of depression. It's no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick environment and a profoundly sick society. That questionnaire is telling me that if you are feeling depressed and overwhelmed by all of this, it means that you are sane. It means that you are sane, and it means that the reality that you're forced to drink from is insane. And what I'm worried about is that something is benefiting from our suffering and needs it to be so. And it's not going to get easier, it's going to get worse. So what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What my work is all about is noticing that. And something that I am being very remiss about is about building a bridge, and not building a bridge, is about showing a dream on the far side. We need our dreamers now. We need people to remind us again who we are, because we are not that. We are not that. It bothers me so much. And we need our dreamers to paint this dream for us so we can fall in love with those dreams, so we can want to reach there with everything in us, and we can believe again that that's possible. And then we need people like me to say, okay, this is how you get there. This is how you engineer society. This is how you change yourself. This is how you take stock of who you are, so that you can figure out how to product manage your own becoming as a person, in the context of your relationships and in the context of your work, and then as communities, and then as nations, right? There is room for all of those collaborators, but we have to first believe that something better is possible. And that dream is dying in us. Certainly the old American dream is dying. Certainly this dream that we've all been subscribing to for so long turned out to be a bit of a lie, and it's now becoming a nightmare. But instead of just throwing yourself into that black pool, you need to stare into that fucking mirror and realize that it's not acceptable. Not acceptable for you, not acceptable. This is not why you came here. You did not come here for that. We come here to do something else, and we need the voices who are just belligerently strident in their intention to remind us that that is fucking bullshit, and we're not here for that. And guess what, folks? Things are going to get darker, which means we're going to need the light more. We're going to need the light more. You need to learn to live with that agony, that devotion, because it doesn't mean that something's wrong. It means that something is terribly right. Something's terribly right in you. It means that you are aligned. The light in you is resisting that dark. The love in you is resisting all that fear. And you're not alone. You're not alone. Agony is a symptom of devotion. Agony, so reliably, we're talking about this ancient Greek concept of agonia, and I read it before. It was this symbolic context which refers to the profound existential struggle that precedes profound transformation. The secret aim of all tension is transformation. And agony, that kind of agony, is a symptom of devotion. The child that wants to be born is devoted to life before it even understands what those words mean. It knows what those words mean will come to mean eventually, because it just feels that feeling, right? Agony so reliably accompanies devotion because devotion is what binds you and binds me to something that matters deeply enough to expose ourselves to loss, to frustration, and to limitation. As a dad, no growth arc in my life has ever been this demanding or this rewarding as being a child to a neurodivergent 4-year-old who's struggling to be in this broken world. So to try and create a nest of love for her, but also in that nest, prepare her for the reality that she's going to encounter one day when I'm no longer here. I'm 51, she's 4. And I don't know how many good years I've got left. And I have to prepare her. Otherwise, that's not good parenting either. And that's why I say devotion always puts you in relationship with necessary forms of inadequacy. The mental, there's entire cultures that will tell you never feel inadequate, sister, you go girl, or whatever the fuck it is, but they don't understand the sacredness of agony and devotion. And what I mean when I say necessary forms of inadequacy, because it's, as a father, those necessary forms of inadequacy are what call me to keep stepping up and keep stepping up and keep stepping up, even though that I don't know that I have that capability inside of me. Just sometimes no is not an answer. Even though my best has to be enough, I never stop trying. Devotion always puts us in relationship with necessary forms of inadequacy, because that is how you know that you are loving beyond your limits. Morgan joined, and Jacob says, I'm not here to be comfortably numb. Yeah. So someone shared, one of my friends on here, a guy called Mark, he's the guy that I can speak most real with. I can just almost be completely real with Mark, which is very rare, right? And I've only met him like once or twice. And he shared something. He said, and this was from Elena Vasileva. It's on Substack, and you can find it on my notes feed. If you're reading this, chances are you already sense it, that your work as a strategist, a coach, an artist, an entrepreneur, whatever it is about more than outputs. You are participating in the story of tomorrow, but let me offer a gentle reminder. You don't have to write the whole new myth alone. Storytelling for systemic change is a collective craft. And just like I said, leadership was a collective craft. It's a mosaic. Your voice, your perspective, your truth, it matters. It's one tile in a much bigger picture. The more of us who dare to imagine out loud, the more inevitable a new world becomes. And I wrote on top of that, if we don't foster a shared dream, we're going to consign ourselves to living out a shared nightmare. Anyway, we're at the 40-minute mark here, folks. If there's any, please do me a favor. If this has moved you in some way, share it when it comes out. I'll post this as a live video. Share it, comment on it, make some noise. Make some noise. You know that little movie that they made recently, that they remade recently, which Horton Hears a Who. I watched that, and I watched it high on weed while my wife was sitting with our daughter Maya. And I'm able to watch through like archetypal eyes when I watch those kids' movies, and I can see a message in there. So clear as day. And the thing that moved me was this little moment where this one creature is fussing and telling Horton, the elephant, that he's imagining that there's something deep and meaningful locked inside something that's as small as a speck. And he can hear, and he believes. And he tells the creatures in this little speck that they have to make a noise. And they start chanting together, "We are here, we are here, we are here." That should hit me, and it's that image has stayed with me. And I know that on some version, we need to do that. We need to do that. And that's how you do it. So please hit that love heart and make a fuss about this work, because it fucking matters, right? And I'll leave you with this little thing that I wrote at the back of one of my books. It says, "Tomorrow belongs to the dreamers. Tomorrow belongs to the dreamers. But the future belongs to those who can act upon their dreams to shape their tomorrow. Tomorrow belongs to the dreamers, but the future belongs to those who can act on their dreams, who can act on their dreams to shape their tomorrow." I say so often that we're all becoming something day by day, and we're either becoming something by default, individually and collectively, or we're doing it by design. And if we're not doing it by design, if we're not discerning, if we're not present, if we're not fully intentional, something else is deciding that default for us. Tomorrow belongs to the dreamers, but the future belongs to those who can act on their dreams to shape their tomorrow. And prayer, to me, this whole work of mine is a prayer. It's a prayer to be heard. It's a prayer for the sanity to prevail. It's a prayer for a better version of ourselves to emerge. It's a prayer for a wider field of possibility to exist for when Maya, my daughter, turns into a young adult. Prayer is nothing more than the humble effort to articulate that dream about the conversation in whatever language draws you on. In whatever language draws you on. Back to that idea of that lady talking about the mosaic of voices. Prayer is nothing more than the humble effort to articulate that dream and the conversation, because we're in conversation with our dreams. I didn't just get a flash of insight, now I'm blabbing about it. I live in that world. I live on this far shore where things are better. And I'm trying to convince everyone the worthiness of building a bridge and building a raft and braving the storms and the oceans to get there. Prayer is nothing more than the humble effort to articulate that dream and the conversation in whatever language that draws you on. To acknowledge gratitude. I'm grateful for the folks that have arrived here today and held space for this conversation. It's so important. To acknowledge gratitude and to be reminded of grace. To be reminded of grace. There's so many opportunities we have to show invitational leadership to people. The kind of things we say. I used to just float in and drop some kind of mic drop comment on things. And I was usually right. I'm an intelligent guy and I have a cutting eye on things. But what an asshole. I mean, I'm not helping myself, So I realized that something I'm going to try and do more and more. And what I'm working on that is invitational leadership, right? Our ability to extend grace to things. Grace is one of those things that are transcendent. Grace transcends status, it transcends ability, it transcends wealth, it transcends power, it transcends limits. Grace is transcendent. To acknowledge gratitude and be reminded of grace, and to defy or accept in turn whatever stands today in your way. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the default setting is bad, says Jacob. We need active, loving participation and courage. Gosh, we need so much courage. And we also need encouragement. So our work can be all these things. Our work can be grace in the world. Our work can be our courage to speak, our courage to be seen, our courage to say the wrong thing. Say it badly. Keep saying it until it gets better. Have redos. The grace we can show to encourage others to find their voice. There's a way that we do not need to solve every single problem in the whole world. I recorded a beautiful talk last week. I think it was on the weekend. It was called Helping to Stop a Hole. Helping to Stop a Hole. And it's about a story that I tell about a time that I had of a walking tour in Ireland, where the gist of it was We were initiated into land over this and into place and into a different way of being in relationship with any place that we belong to. How to actually belong, right? It's a missing art, how to belong in a deep sense. And part of this was a 6-mile hike through this ancient landscape, this limestone highland called the Burren in North Clare in Ireland. And the guy that led us, he warned us about these holes, these deep black fissures that form naturally all over the place, constantly forming, because it's constantly buffeted by wind and rain. And so the sod and the turf is draining into these holes, and the limestone's cracking and moving. And so you'll be walking along, and it's the same route you may have walked a dozen times before, and then suddenly there's this black pit open in front of you. And some of them are big and some of them are small, but they're just enough to slip your foot into and twist an ankle or break the leg of a sheep or something like that. So the etiquette is, wherever you are, as you make your way across the Burren, if you encounter a hole in front of you, you find a loose stone nearby and you fill it. That's it. That's it. Okay. And the wisdom there is, you don't have to solve every problem in the world. You just have to start solving the ones that you encounter along the way. And if everybody did that, if everybody held themselves to that reciprocal protocol, there'd be less holes in the world. Yeah. All right. I think I've rambled enough. Thank you very much for holding space for this conversation. Spare a thought for the thought leaders in each of us and the courageous souls in each of us that are trying to bring light into the world and trying to protect the ones that we love from darkness. And start showing up differently and start disregarding the norm. And if there's ways that you think that this project can work, my work can work, or other people's that we like share the microphone or the platform with, I want to pull people together in common cause. And that's why it's a separate Substack. I don't want it to be my Substack. I want it to be our Substack. So you can go to abetterwaynow.substack.com. And it doesn't look the way you think it should look. It's work in progress and it's messy. It's a bit like we've decided to build an epic jazz club where we can all jazz together, right? And play together and hang and make beauty and make meaning, right? But we walk in and the person who's leasing the building, it's not fitted out the way we want to yet. We have to make it into what we want it. We need moderators. We need content creators. We need writers. But I don't need any old writer with an idea, because not everything is mature. Not everything is coherent. Not everything is aligned properly. There's so many people that I also attract crazies, right? I attract the crazies. They hear what I'm doing. They like what I'm saying. And then they like just spam me. Here's my 17 post arc of my own mystic rambling or my own revision of the entire code of physics, right? And it's intelligent, but it's not coherent to the average person. And they invent their own language and they invent their own mathematics and they invent their own terminology. And it's beautiful, but it's not accessible. And so the one thing that we have to do, you'll notice everything I'm talking about spans science, leadership, parenting, but it's accessible to human beings. And it has to be coherent. Otherwise, we can't all make common cause about it. We can't all, I forget what the one guy's name was, but he would roll into chats like this and he would just start spamming. Yeah, I already wrote about this. And he bombs us with a post that we now all need to. What's the expectation? We're all going to stop and run over there and read your work? Hello, my name is so-and-so. I like the project you're doing. I'm talking about this too. How would it be helpful to contribute to the project? Jesus. They couldn't figure that out. So we can't platform everyone, but there will be people who intuitively understand the need for collaboration like that. And I feel sorry for neurodivergents because I am one of them. I'm neurodivergent. And my default is not this congenial or this conversational. My default is blunt, direct, straight to the point, non-conversational. There's times I don't even like making eye contact with people. I had to learn all of this. And I had to realize how difficult it is to get anybody to pay you any kind of comfortable attention or heed if you can't play that social game. And this is what I meant earlier, Jacob. There is a tension we sometimes need to play with the social etiquette that's accepted or normalized. And not everything is to me, in the beginning, it was disingenuous because it wasn't the authentic me. But I had to adapt my authentic self to include that way of exchange. Otherwise, no one would listen to me, right? And we also need to extend grace to such people and just say to them, okay, that sounds interesting. Is there any way you could fold that down or can it in a more accessible way? So there's forms that I've created for submissions, for talks and for keynotes and things. I'd like to do a podcast series. I want to start interviewing some people about their work. I also want to play a game. It's called Let's Play the Game. And what it is, is me in a recorded YouTube or a podcast setting. So I've got a Riverside studio we can use. And people will come along and get on the mat with me. It's like a kind of jiu-jitsu or like a kind of jazz, where there is a structure and a framework, but it's free movement inside there. And what we're trying to do is have a philosophical debate or argument or conversation that can even have points of contest and struggle, like a jiu-jitsu match. But it's aimed to see what is most true, what is most beneficial for humanity. Because we need to work out a single coherent philosophy that actually works. Yeah. And there is a way to weave together all these broken threads. And if we don't find that way, it's not going to materialize by itself. Yeah? So I have all these great ideas, but I need people to help me execute that and to come be part of it. So ladies and gentlemen, it's now at the 51-minute mark. Thank you very much for your time. I think I've rambled enough. Please hit me with lots of love hearts, comments. When this does come out, please comment on it, share it. Do whatever you can to boost these kind of signals, and go and find the A Better Way Now Substack and go subscribe and take part and put your hand up and come and figure out how to help. I don't know what's supposed to happen. I just know it has to happen. Thank you very much, ladies and gents. If you want to talk privately, get hold of me on chats or whatever the case, and let's make magic happen. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful evening. Take care.